Do you agree, Mr. Osborne, that by the time that COVID-19 hit, the consequences of austerity were a depleted health and social care capacity and rising inequality in the United Kingdom?
Most certainly not. I completely reject that. I would make 2 points. The first of all, it's not surprising that the biggest economic crash that Britain experienced since the 1930s has an impact on Britain and on poverty and on unemployment and on people's life chances. That's unfortunately what happens when your country experiences such a massive economic shock as we experienced in 2008-9. But what flows from that is a whole set of things, and one of them is seriously impaired public finances, which you then have to repair, and that is what we set about doing. I would say if we had not done that, Britain would have been more exposed, not just to future things like the coronavirus pandemic, but indeed to the fiscal crises which very rapidly followed in countries across Europe, such as Spain, Italy, Greece, Ireland, Slovenia, all across the continent. And indeed, one point, there was a question mark over whether France itself would experience a fiscal crisis. So all across the continent, other countries are experiencing problems of being unable to fund themselves on the international debt markets. And as I point out, in the autumn of last year, Britain went through this briefly for a couple of weeks. So this is not some kind of academic problem that doesn't materialize. It's a very real problem. And if we had not had a clear plan to put the public finances on a sustainable path, then Britain might have experienced a fiscal crisis. We would not have had the fiscal space to deal with the coronavirus pandemic when it hit 7 years later. And indeed, as Mr. Cameron pointed out yesterday, the example in many of those countries that did have those crises was there were real cuts in health services and other public services that went far beyond what the UK experienced, or in case of the NHS, actually budgets went up in real terms.